Morning. I call the July 23, 2024 Special Magistrate proceeding. It is 9:02. My name is Robert Riggio. I am the Special Magistrate who will be hearing matters this morning. Just so some of you may not have been in a proceeding like this before, so let me give you a general overview. There is an agenda which has been posted, and the cases will be called in order as they are on the agenda, except if there are any attorneys present. Those will be taken at the beginning. And the procedure is such that the city will be using the lectern that will be to your left, and you will proceed up to the lectern which is to your right. Please proceed to the lectern and provide your name when your case is called, and you will be sworn in by the board clerk. And then the city will give a overview or synopsis of the case against you with the relevant facts as to why you have been cited. And then you will be given opportunity to respond. And sometimes there's a back and forth. I like to have everybody have an opportunity to say everything that they feel is relevant and important to the consideration of their matter. And then hopefully I'll have enough information before me to render a decision. That's the process that we use here. It's fairly quick, simple, and should be, please feel free to say whatever you need to say in your own defense. Sometimes the city gets it wrong. Sometimes they don't. I want to be able to hear both sides and hear what the arguments are. Okay. Having said that, are there any announcements?
No, sir.
Okay. I have approved the June 25th, 2024 meeting minutes and provided them to the board clerk. And at this time, it would be appropriate for any city staff who will be giving testimony this morning to be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay. This morning, do we have any attorneys with us?
Yes, Mr. Hughes is here for Case 5.
Case 5. Mr. Hughes, if you could come up to the lectern.
And I believe his client is attending via Zoom.
Correct. Okay.
Can you hear me on Zoom? Hello? Can you hear us? We can't hear you. Oh. Sir, you need to unmute your microphone. Oh, that's not your client. Yes.
I never hit on one. CIC.
Okay, this is case number 5, RTL 07-2467, Joseph Krawcheck, is that correct?
That's close enough.
And Lynn Pepe Krawcheck. Been cited for failure to correct violations of Land Development Code Article 4, Section 4.1.a, Article 5, Section 5.2.8.2 at 707 North Grandview Avenue.
That's not your client. That's not.
I've never seen him in person, but if his name's Ford, it's not him.
Mr.
Okay, that'll be him then.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, he's from New York, and I've just deal with him on the phone.
Okay, that's fine. Could you state your name, sir, on Zoom?
Joseph Kravitz.
And could you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And are you authorized to speak on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Krawcheck?
I am Mr. Kravitz.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I just didn't hear you. I apologize.
Right. Mr. Yates?
All right, the case before you is a zoning violation. This case was field generated. The property is zoned MFR 12. Other accommodations and short-term rentals are not permitted in this zoning district. The violation was first observed June 19th, 2024, and they were notified the same day. The property stopped actively advertising as of June 20th, 2024. The daily posted rate was $375. The advertisement displayed 13 reviews. The check-in, check-out time were shown as 4 p.m. and 10 a.m. This is the second case at this address for this owner, the first being RTL 09-22-176 on October 24th, 2022. These actions are irreparable and irreversible in nature, and due to this being the second violation, the city is requesting a one-time fine of $15,000.
Okay. Mr. Yates, if you could just repeat the date you first noticed and when it was.
June 19th, 2024.
June 19th, and then you notified the respondents on
Same day.
same day, and it was taken down on
The 20th.
the 20th?
Yes, sir.
June 20th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jackson, do you have anything to add?
Yes. Anthony Jackson, attorney for the city of Daytona Beach. How you doing, Mr. Hughes?
Great.
Mr. Riggio, what I'd like to do is provide, what I do in these cases on a regular basis is provide the city's position regarding irreparable or irreversible, to express the city's position that these violations are irreparable and irreversible in nature, as provided in Chapter 162.09, subsection 1D of the Florida statute. It's the city's position that this violation provides a beneficial gain of property to the property owner who is advertising conduct that is prohibited by the city's code. It affects renting property or holding out property as vacation rentals, which cannot be reversed or repaired. Property is advertised worldwide, marketing a destination that draws people from all over the world for the principal special events such as Daytona 500 races, Bike Week, Biketoberfest, or 400 races as well, and throughout our spring and summer months to our world's most famous beach. The properties may also be marketed as a draw to nearby destinations such as Disney World and the Space Coast. Once the properties are advertised, they are never truly unadvertised. The reality of the web is that they cannot be pushed back into the tube. The advertisement, once it's out, it's out. Information posted today can be printed and saved, forwarded, retweeted, and even copied and pasted on other sites. And it limits the city to the only solution to the advertisement is to require that all postings be removed. SmartSightings.com marketing website provides that as of October 2023, 4.95 billion people around the world use social media and cannot be reached and can be reached by the advertisements.
Your Honor, I guess I have some issues with this because he's citing facts that aren't in evidence. This is an evidentiary hearing, and he's going on and going into facts that I can't cross-examine him. I don't know where he's coming from. I don't have the same sources as he. So his argument, I'm going to move to strike because it's based on facts not in evidence. He could cite the code, which would be the land development code, and say where this is specifically defined as irrevocable or irreparable. And quite honestly, there is no definition in the code, the land development code. So my client would never have noticed that these are violations and considered irrevocable or irreparable. Again, I look at the statute 162.09. There is no definition of what is irreparable or irrevocable. This is simply a simple deal. We got notice from Mr. Yates on, I believe you said the 19th, sir?
Yes, sir.
And we took it down on the 20th. I immediately contacted Mr. Yates. My client was completely surprised that this ad was still up. He will testify that he did his research, found out how it got back up, and took it down. So there is no definition. And even if there was a definition, the fine that they're requesting is an illegal fine. And every time that these gentlemen make that recommendation, they're recommending that the special magistrate make an illegal fine. So I don't know if they're ready to deal with this or not, but I've done a little bit of research. Was on vacation after our hearing last week. So I haven't had a chance to follow through on this, but unless it's defined in stat or in case law somewhere, it's not in the statute and it's not in the land development code. And I would think that putting up an ARNB post that can be taken down, it's not irreparable and it's not irrevocable. It's down. It's not up for rent.
Mr. Jackson?
Appreciate the expressions and the statements of
Hughes.
I was getting it, Mr. Hughes. I disagree with him strongly in terms of, first of all, this isn't a legal argument. It's a presentation as to the position. And the position is related to just the general consideration of things that we ask the court to consider. If Mr. Hughes believes he has challenged those various points, he can raise those and he can ask the court to consider other things as well. This is not an argument as to the validity or the invalidity of the violation itself. It's a consideration as to its relationship to what the statute provides. It's been considered by this court or this magistrate in this proceedings for now several years. It's been well established, and it's something that has been even acknowledged in local appeals. I've not done significant research in 50C but in circuit appeals, it's been acknowledged, and it's merely, as I said, it's speaking to the nature of the violations. It's not speaking to the violation specifically, because what the statute calls for is the question of whether or not these are irreparable or reversible in nature.
Okay, let me kind of cut this. I think that, Mr. Jackson, you would like to provide more argument. Mr. Hughes, I understand your position. I've looked at the plain meaning of the words irreparable and irreversible. It's sort of, once the cat is out of the bag, you can't put it back in. And that is with respect to these particular matters. The renting has been made, and you can't unrent it once the violation has occurred. The violation is the short-term rental, which is not allowed. And I know, about a half dozen of these have gone up on appeal, and I have not seen any of them come back, and I don't know if anybody has argued that. What I would prefer is, if we're going to have legal argument relative to this, that we continue this to the next month and give Mr. Jackson opportunity to formulate his arguments as to this. I have been prone so far, based on the plain meaning of the terms irreparable and irreversible, to essentially find that they are irreparable and irreversible. But if you have a better argument, I'd be happy to hear it.
But isn't the code supposed to put someone on notice as to what a violation is? How is my client supposed to know that this is irreversible?
Chapter 162.
Or irreparable. How would he know by reading what the code is?
Well, one of the reasons his client specifically would know is because he's a repeat violator. This has come before this magistrate before with those same considerations. So this is not a first.
And he got fined because he couldn't log in on Zoom because he's not technologically astute.
No, he didn't get fined, if my recollection is correct. That matter was continued.
And then the second time he couldn't get there either. And you proceeded without him, even though you acknowledged that he was trying to log in.
I'm not aware that he was trying to log in. I don't.
Okay.
If someone is trying to log in, I certainly want to make every effort to allow them an opportunity to state their position regarding the matter.
In addition,
I think the argument was, that I recall, was that they said that although I announce when a matter is continued, somehow there was a communication, because I continued the matter because they indicated at the hearing in some fashion, whether it was by telephone or whatever, I continued it to, I believe it was October 25th. And I always announce that at hearings, okay? That's not a surprise. And then, if my understanding is correct, they were sent notice and they just refused to accept certified mail notices. That's not my problem, that they have, as an owner of property in this city, they have an obligation to accept things, and they do that at their peril when they don't accept, and that's in the file.
Okay.
And so what I'm dealing with is somebody who is trying to argue the fringes of everything, and trying to avoid the consequences of violating the code in Daytona Beach. And that's what I'm seeing right now. Mr. Jackson is correct. They were cited, I believe it was in September, and they came before here, and there was some problem with Zoom. And so I continued it to October. Then there was no response. They then said that they were unaware of the hearing in October. I don't know how it was that I was able to continue it. They felt comfortable, but then they're not aware of it. And so I'm seeing this almost, certainly your clients can respond, but I'm seeing this right now as a game of avoidance of consequences.
That's fair, Your Honor, and we'll argue that at the next hearing, but I'm going to put them on notice. We're going to be arguing the legal standard and then also the criteria for determining a fine, because even if you find it irreparable and irreversible, there still are criteria for determining the amount of the fine, and it's not set at $15,000.
I fully agree there's a criteria, and that's something that I would have raised here, but we can raise it at a future proceeding. But the most important, if I can just say this, the most important thing for us, Mr. Riggio, and I've always said this is never anything new. If we're going to continue it, as long as he continues to remain in compliance until the time it comes up again, for all of these are public record, every hearing, every proceeding, the opportunity to look back and see what he said, or if he wants to look back, or to see what the outcome of a proceeding that he wasn't present at, that's always been available. It's still available.
Fair enough. Okay. I just wanted everyone to know what we're arguing.
And
Mr. Jackson, you and I will speak before.
Yeah, it's Mr. Hughes' motions or arguments, so I'm willing to receive them and hear them. I have no argument other than our position.
I want to hear both sides make cogent arguments, and right now, I want to be sure that Mr. Jackson has an opportunity.
That's fair.
To be prepared for it.
That's fair.
Mr. Hughes and I are cordial. I'm sure he'll contact me appropriately, and we'll be able to talk.
That's correct.
Then in case number, let's see, where's my agenda? Case number 5, RTL 07-2467, respondents being Joseph Krawcheck and Lynn Pepe Krawcheck. I hereby continue this matter to August 27th, 2024.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
You bet. I'll get you from the mic.
What?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good one.
All right. There are, I assume, no other attorneys representing respondents present. So we will go back to the agenda as it is set out, and we will go to case number, so this would be a lien review, RTL 08-22-157, 426 Model Street. Richard Britt Jr., who was cited for failure to correct violations of city code, and there is an order imposing a fee, fine and lien in the amount of $15,897.18.
I believe he is appearing via Zoom.
Is Mr. Britt available on Zoom?
No, he's not.
No.
Okay.
Was he supposed to be available on Zoom?
According to my list here, yes.
Okay.
That's okay. We actually met with him in advance of this hearing.
Inspector LaWanda Domingo, with City of Daytona Beach Code compliance. My credentials are on file. Yes, we did have a meeting with Mr. Britt, and there was an agreement that the city's position is to waive the fine for this case.
Okay. My understanding from his petition was that he had hurricane damage.
Yes, sir.
And he had an insurance company that was not ready to provide him with any funds to repair that damage that he had paid money for.
Yes, sir, absolutely. This was not my case originally. It was Inspector Stephen Cole. So in his absence, he's no longer with our division. I did a review of the case record and did find that there was documented communication back in October of 2022 with Inspector Cole that the property had been damaged in a hurricane. I did my own research and did find that there was a claim on record with the Volusia County Clerk of Court verifying that, in addition to a tenant eviction that took place prior to that. So the property was vacant, unrented, under repair for hurricane damages.
And with all that said, what we're really saying is we outweighed them.
Right.
We waived the lien fine.
And the city has an interest in trying to get properties back in
Yeah, and
use, productive
Absolutely.
use, as opposed to sitting there with fines on them. And in this case, the fine really relates to to some extent, his inability to have his insurance company come forward and allow him to make the repairs.
And sometimes the circumstances are a little different than that, but we're always trying to find a way to be fair if we can get all the facts. And the facts that have been determined are facts that we believe creates the outcome that we recommend.
Okay. Therefore, having heard the argument as my decision that in RTL 08-22-157, I find the respondent, Richard Britt, Jr., for property at 426 Model Street. Mr. Britt, who was found previously in noncompliance, let me start over again and do
Yes, sir.
that a little better. In case number RTL 08-22-157, property at 426 Model Street, Richard Britt, Jr., I ordered a lien in that case number to be reduced to the amount of 0, or to be waived, subject to being paid within 30 days, or the fine will revert back to the original amount. If Mr. Britt is listening in, and if you could communicate this to him, if he runs into any problem paying it, to immediately contact the city. You may be able to provide some additional time.
Well, I'll point out, Ms. Ridgeo, as you said, there's nothing to
That's
pay.
true, it's 0.
Yes.
Okay.
So we should be fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
We will move back now to the new cases. Case number 1, RTL 07-2462, 407 Harvey LLC, cited for failure to correct violations of City Code at 706 Harvey Avenue. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Ma'am, if you could state your name and your relationship to 407 Harvey LLC and be sworn in by the clerk.
My name is Victoria Worth, property manager.
Okay.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you state your name one more time?
Victoria Worth,
And your relationship to 407 Harvey?
property manager.
Okay. This is a matter where there's going to be determination of compliance or noncompliance. Mr. Wexelberg?
Good morning, sir. Carl Wexberg, City of Daytona Beach. My credentials are on file. This is a field-generated case, case number RTL 07-27-62 for 706 Harvey. The violations were failure to maintain a current rental license. They were notified and posted on May 17th as well as June 7th, with compliance date by May 31st. I last conducted a site visit on July 19th, and they were still in noncompliance. We have had contact with the property manager since then, and the repairs are underway, but still not complete at this time.
Okay. Has the rental license been applied for?
Yes, they had a current license. The original inspection was conducted in March of this year.
Okay.
And we had limited or no contact with the property owner at that time, despite multiple requests.
All right. Ms. Worth?
Like he said, we've been in contact with each other. I do have a signed contract with EcoView Windows for one of the windows that need to be repaired there, a new window installed. We're in the process of renewing the rental license.
Okay. Ms. Worth, how long do you estimate it will take for the repairs to be complete?
The only repair really that we have left is just this window, and as of right now, they're telling me Monday, the 29th, that they'll be there to install it, pending the...
I did check on the permit.
Oh, you did?
It was applied for, but it was filled out incorrectly,
Okay,
and so the window company has to reapply.
okay,
I just looked it up minutes ago.
okay.
Okay. So
I will contact them.
it should be probably complete by the next cutoff date, which would be August 21st.
Okay,
Because the next step in this proceeding, and I'm saying this for the other people who are similarly situated, I'm going to be finding that you are in noncompliance, and then you have an opportunity to bring property into compliance. The next step in this type of proceeding is in the imposition of a fine, and I'm sure you would like to avoid that if you could.
absolutely.
So at this point, you're just in noncompliance. You bring the property into compliance, and that will hopefully bring the matter to a close.
Okay,
So therefore, in case number 1, RTL 07-2462, respondent being 407 Harvey LLC, I find the respondent to be in noncompliance, nor the respondent to come into compliance by August 21, 2024, or be returned to a hearing before the special magistrate on August 27, 2024, for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Thank you.
thank you.
For resident. That's the one I saw in the permit.
Okay, I'll give them a call.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Next case is number 2, RTL 07-2461, Florida LLC, cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 350 Maple Street. Is there anyone here on behalf of Florida LLC? Do we have anyone who is supposed to appear via Zoom from Florida LLC?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. There is no respondent present. Mr. Wexelberg?
All right, sir. RTL 07-27-61 against Florida LLC for 350 Maple was field generated for failure to maintain a current rental license. The property was posted on June 7th, and I did get a certified return receipt on June 14th for the property. I did conduct a site visit just this past Friday on the 19th. There is still no change to the property. It did have a previous rental case, 2020-0139, was closed due to compliance. And at this time, we're seeking a finding of noncompliance with compliance by the next cutoff.
Okay. Madam Clerk, has the respondent been notified of today's hearing?
I haven't heard from anyone. Let's see if there. Was not delivered, so Carl posted the notice at the property and
Okay.
posted it downstairs and sent it by mail
Okay. Mr.
on July the 8th.
So the respondent has been made aware.
Yes,
Whether or not they choose to appear is up to them at this point.
right. It came back unclaimed.
Okay. So I'm going to find them in noncompliance, but again, on August 21st, potentially they start running into a situation where they could have a fine imposed.
Yes, sir.
So therefore, in case number 2, RTL 07-2461, respondent being Florida LLC, for property at 350 Maple Street. I find the respondent to be in noncompliance and order the respondent come into compliance by August 21, 2024, or be returned to a hearing before the special magistrate on August 27, 2024, for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Case number 3, RTL 072463, BMS Holdings, cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 417 Maple Street. Is anyone here on behalf of BMS Holdings? Again, do we have anyone who has contacted the city to be on Zoom for BMS Holdings?
Mr. Reggio, this is the same owner as Florida LLC. It's just a different LLC name. It's the same
person.
owners.
Same person
Correct.
Same owner.
who operates under different
Multiple
Correct.
corporate
Yep.
entities.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Your Honor, I have no other Zoom participants that were sent the link.
Okay. Mr. Wexelberg.
Okay, RTL 072763, field generated against BMS Holdings for the property at 417 Maple for failure to maintain a current rental license. It was posted once again on Friday, the June 7th, with a return receipt on June 14th. Last site visit was conducted on July 19th. With no obvious changes. It appears still occupied. This one also has a previous rental case, RI 2021-0372, and that came into compliance May of 22. And we are once again seeking finding of noncompliance with compliance by the next cutoff.
Okay. Therefore, in case number 3, RTL 072463, respondent being BMS Holdings for property at 417 Maple Street, I find the respondent in that case to be in noncompliance, nor the respondent come into compliance by August 21, 2024, or be returned to a hearing before the special magistrate on August 27, 2024, for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one continued case. Case number 4, RTL 022427, Ida Mae Pendleton Estate, cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 811 Kingston.
It's not here.
I believe that case is in compliance.
I don't believe it's in compliance. I believe he's going to ask to amend it. I don't know.
Well, is there anyone here on behalf of the estate of Ida Mae Pendleton?
Okay, let's come back to that one.
You'd like to pass it, is that the request?
Yeah, we're going to see, maybe the inspector's just running late.
Okay.
We're going to check and see.
Okay, then we will skip that one for now, and we will move on to case number 6, RTL 072464, Eric Blanco del Todo, cited for failure to correct violations of Land Development Code Article 4, Section 4.1.a, Article 5, Section 5.2.a.2 at 1034 Imperial Drive.
The case before you is a zoning violation. This case was...
Yates, before you begin, is there anyone here on behalf of Eric Blanco del Todo? Again, have you been contacted for having him present on Zoom? No, okay. All right. The respondent is not present. Mr. Yates, can you proceed forward with the city's presentation on behalf of the city?
Yes, sir. The case before you is a zoning violation. This case was field generated. The property is zoned SFR 5. Other accommodations known as short-term rentals are not permitted in the zoning district. The violation was first observed June 11, 2024, and they were notified the same day. The property stopped actively advertising as of June 13, 2024. The daily posted rate was $111, and it displayed 2 reviews. The check-in, check-out time were shown as 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. and 11 a.m. These actions are irreparable and irreversible in nature, and the city is requesting a one-time fine of $1,000.
Okay, Mr. Yates, could you repeat the date of that you initially observed, the date of notification, and the date it was taken down?
Yes, sir. It was first observed June 11th, 2024, and they were notified the same day. The property stopped actively advertising as of June 13th, 2024.
Okay. All right. Well, I have no, that is in line with what the city has done in the past, so therefore.
Mr. Riggio, did you want me to present?
Yes, Mr. Jackson.
And Mr. Riggio, in this case, case number 6, I'd like to make sure something I didn't do before is to briefly speak to those who are here on other cases of this type. These cases that are listed as irreparable and irreversible in nature. Those cases are, in each of those cases, this presentation is presented merely as a city's position to the magistrate. Everyone here will have an opportunity, if they so elect, each person who comes before, to speak to any of these issues that are just common knowledge issues. And so I would like you to listen up. So if you don't feel the need for me to go through this position again, we could, you'd have an opportunity, if you so elect, to waive hearing it again. But in any sense, you'll have an opportunity to speak to any of the things that is expressed as the city's position. So the city's position as relates to irreparable or reversible in nature, these come before the magistrate as provided in Chapter 162.09, subsection 1D of the Florida statute. And this, the city's position is that these violations are a beneficial gain to the property owner who is advertising conduct that is prohibited by the city code. And the effects of renting the property, holding out property as vacation rental cannot be reversed or repaired. Property is advertised worldwide, marketing a destination that draws people from all over the world for principal special events such as Daytona 500 races, Bike Week, Biketoberfest, and also throughout our spring months for the world's most famous beach. The properties may also be marketed as a draw to nearby destinations, such as Disney World and the Space Coast. And once the property is advertised, it can never be truly unadvertised. The reality is with the web, with the internet, you cannot push such advertisement back into the tube. The information is posted today, can be printed and saved, forwarded, retweeted, and even copied and posted on other sites. Limiting the city to the only solution for the advertisement is to require that all postings be removed. The effects of these vacation or guest rental, short-term rentals, is that the information has a long-range effect in luring patrons under contract to participate in unlawful stays in our city. The patrons risk poor health, poor safety and welfare, due to unregulated or self-regulated vacation accommodations that patrons enter into at their own risk. One single day of advertising can potentially book a property for the whole year. These promised stays are potentially to the detriment of the patron and definitely to the detriment of licensed hotels, motels, and lawful vacation rental that have gone through proper zoning regulation, proper inspections, proper licensing, proper insurance, and proper taxation required by law. The transit nature of the rentals limit the means of the enforcement typical to the inspector having to identify it by its advertisements. By the time a code enforcement officer arrives to properties, the transient patrons typically are gone from the property, or they're claiming misleading relationships that are often contradicted by the advertised visitor comments. The monetary effect of these unlawful rentals is that they avoid the local tax. They have inadequate insurance coverage, and unfair business competition against the lawful accommodations, businesses, and lawful vacation rentals that we have in our city. The community effect is that transient business use within unauthorized residential neighborhoods affect density, parking, noise, and safety. They affect the peaceful enjoyment expected in residential neighborhoods, and they diverge from traditional and reliable residential norms. As I've said before, Mr. Magistrate, there is a demand from the business community to our city commission, which has led to a request for a strong deterrent to those that are raking in profits and avoiding local taxes and avoiding zoning regulations and regulatory controls. We have all, excuse me, we have all seen rentals going for amounts as much as several $1,000s a week and realize substantial fines is the only deterrent tool available. By the time we arrive and say stop, the beneficial gains to the property owner are already realized. State law adopted by the city defines vacation rentals to include advertising for transient guests. Therefore, the city requests that a finding that these violations are irreparable or irreversible in nature as provided by Florida statute. As always, we've always asked the court to look to the gravity of these violations as pursuant to the state code and as pursuant to our code of ordinances. And when we look to the gravity of the violation, what you've been looking to in a more recent time is the time periods in which these last after they've been notified. In a situation where someone responds relatively quick, your common ruling has been for a $1,000 fine. In other circumstances, it may be as much as $15,000, which is provided by law. And in those egregious circumstances, that's what we would be requesting. So with that being said, in this case, I believe the request is for a $1,000 fine, and that's the city's request. And that's the city's common sense, general knowledge information as relates to our position regarding irreparable and irreversible.
Okay.
And I have nothing further since we don't have anyone present.
All right. And the city is asking for a $1,000 fine on this
Yes, sir.
property. As I said in the past, my finding has been that these are irreparable and irreversible. This is different than the typical code enforcement type issue where the matter can be corrected. The gain is made, the rental occurs, and then the person is cited afterwards. And I have, years ago, there was a U.S. Department of Justice memorandum regarding what were considered economic crimes, and I felt that that had relevance to this. And it dealt with things like people who chose to avoid doing things such as properly disposing of oil or tires or whatever, taking it out in the woods and dumping it. And you could say, well, so? Well, what they did was they avoided the cost of being of that. It becomes sort of an economic crime, to speak. Now, we're not here talking about crimes, but I see it as an analogy that the fine that is levied has to be commensurate with the gain that is being realized by these types of proceedings. And many of them have been for significant amounts. Many times the city's not able to pick up on them until they've been going for a while. There is a gain to be realized, and the purpose of this proceeding is to try to prevent further violations of the code and to allow people to make money and still be able to avoid the consequences of their actions doesn't seem to act as any kind of deterrent. And as Mr. Jackson has stated, Years ago, when we started this type of proceeding, the fines were, I think the city commission in particular was asking for significant fines in the range of the maximum, 15,000. And I have felt that for those who act quickly and act responsibly, that the fine should be scaled back, but it still has to be something that reflects that there is a significant economic gain that is realized by these types of businesses, which are sort of shade businesses because they're not regulated by anyone, they're not overseen by anyone. The city, which has a fairly all-encompassing programs to encompass both short-term rentals where they are allowed and long-term rentals, is totally left out of the picture. And it sort of mirrors the statute that didn't get passed, that there are things like reviews for fire alarms, smoke detectors, things that you would expect if you go to a hotel, they absolutely must be in place. They are inspected. They are subject to regulatory review by various agencies within the state to make sure that they do provide a safe environment. These are sort of a shadow industry that operates totally outside the purview of any regulatory system. And so that in a nutshell is my position that I have seen and from what Mr. Jackson has to say with respect to this and what I feel is appropriate under the circumstances and relates to the law as it relates to these types of enterprises. So therefore, since Mr. Teltodo acted quickly in response, the fine has been scaled back from the $15,000 maximum that once was imposed, and the city is asking for a $1,000 fine. I find that to be fair. So therefore, in case number 6, RTL 07-2464, I find the respondent Eric Blanco Del Todo to have been in noncompliance of Article 4, Section 4.1.a and Article 5, Section 5.2.a.2 of the Land Development Code, which prohibit short-term rentals in zoning districts not zoned for short-term rentals, and that such violations are irreparable and irreversible because the improper benefit obtained by the owner and the damage surrounding neighborhood occurs at the time the violation occurs and cannot be undone as provided for by Section 162.091D Florida statutes for the property at 1034 Imperial Drive to have subsequently come into compliance on June 13, 2024, and hereby order that respondent shall pay a fine in the amount of $1,000 and not violate that section of the Land Development Code again, and that for any future repeat violation, the respondent may be placed on a subsequent agenda for a hearing before the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $15,000 for each occurrence as per Chapter 162 Florida statutes. Okay, next case is number 7, RTL 07-2465. Respondent being Casa del Sweeney, LLC, cited for failure to correct violations of Land Development Code Article 4, Section 4.1.a, Article 5, Section 5.2.a.2 at 20 North Halifax Avenue.
Could you state your name, please?
Jim Sweeney.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Yates.
The case before you is a zoning violation. This case was field generated. The property is zoned RP. Other accommodations known as short-term rentals are not permitted in the zoning district. The violation was first observed June 13th, 2024, and they were notified the same day. The property stopped actively advertising as of June 19th, 2024. The daily posted rate was $250, and the advertisement displayed 2 reviews. The check-in time was shown as 3 p.m. These actions are irreparable and irreversible in nature, and due to the actions of the property owner, the city is requesting a one-time fine of $1,000.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, do you have anything to add?
Mr. Sweeney, I'm Anthony Jackson, attorney for the city. As I stated when I expressed the city's position, I'm up here to express that position once again. As I said, if you've had an opportunity to hear me and hear the position of the city, you can waive that and not have to hear it again.
I'll waive it.
And you have, and you do have the opportunity to speak to any of those issues if you so desire.
No. I'd like to talk, though.
Mr. Sweeney, before you say anything, I just want to make clear that Mr. Jackson's previous presentation related to the city's position, and correct me if I'm wrong, on irreparable and irreversible.
Yes.
As it relates to these particular citations. Okay. All right, then let the record reflect that Mr. Jackson's previous presentation in case number 6 as it relates to irreparable and irreversible is hereby incorporated into this particular proceeding. And Mr. Sweeney, it's your turn now.
Jim Sweeney, I've had this property for 20 years. I'm a real estate appraiser. It's my office. It's also a 6-bedroom house that I feel like I hadn't been utilizing. I am glad that I do have parking for Bike Week, and I'm part of all the Bike Week activities, and that's where we've met before. The city was trying to take that away from me a couple of years back, and it was wrong, but I'm glad we got it corrected. So I thought this is a commercial property, and it's vague when you say commercial property because it allows office use, it allows medical office building. I even looked, there could be special uses for fraternity. I had a fraternity, the Sigma Chi's at Embry-Riddle wanted to use my house, and I didn't do that because I'm sure my neighbors would hate me if I had a fraternity house across the street from them. But I've been using the property, and I went to try and do Airbnb. I was under the misunderstanding, I received bad information that I could do this not, and I had told the inspector this. I thought I could do it for a week, block it out for the month, and do it on a monthly basis. He informed me, no, it's 6 months and a day, and I was unaware of that. That's on me. I admit I'm in the wrong. I took it down right away. This property is located 500 feet from the Boot Hill Saloon. I've had hurricane damage. I'm trying to financially get through still 2 years later. And I also was broken into last year. We happened to catch the guy, which was real nice. The $500 he owes me for breaking my doors and causing damage still hasn't been paid. So I was trying to do something here where I could generate some income other than myself paying for this property. And all I ask is that I've been here 20 years. I don't have any violations. I'm asking that you waive the $1,000 fine. And I also have a pretty good deal for the city. Because I see today in the newspaper that you're looking at this $6 million, $7 million purchase for permits and licensing. I could give you a new home for much less than that because I will be putting this on the market. I'm done. It's just with the vagrants and people coming into my backyard there. And I was told that, I had talked to the city about a rezone, and they said PD is a possibility, and it would be a $1,400 application. And you can move forward, and that would give a zoning where I could do whatever I wanted with it. But I was also told that's probably not going to happen for you. So I'm done. I would love to give this property or sell this property to the city of Daytona Beach for the new home of permits and licensing. And you can even expand off because I have a vacant lot to the north of it. So it could be a home for half the price of the place that you have on Beach Street that you're looking at. So, but no, I admit I violated it, I guess, and I'm asking you to show mercy and go from there.
What says the city?
As I've said many times before, Mr. Magistrate, I'm not against mercy. However, what I'm forced to have to do is to recognize consistency. Over the years, we've taken a very consistent position, and even people who are very sincere and who have been here for a very long time, we've proceeded with at least having some consequential fine. And the reason is really simple. A violation with zero consequences, such as this type of a violation that actually provides some degree, maybe not a whole lot, but in all cases, but any degree of potential economic benefit, is the type of violation that someone can just do until they're caught and then asked for us to waive. And I've had very sincere people that I felt that they were very sincere, and I've taken that same position. So I feel the necessity, at least from the city's perspective, to continue to take that position, recognizing that ultimate decision is the magistrate's. But the city's position is that you've worked overtime, as you expressed. We've initially would ask 15,000 for all cases when we started this a number of years ago, and you've worked us down to what we felt, and we've adopted to the reasonableness of saying a minimal fine on people who immediately respond. And so we believe that's a reasonable minimal fine, noting that even with reviews, we still don't know the reality of how many times someone has rented or how much benefit they've gotten. And so we can't measure it one-to-one. We just have to be consistent.
Okay. Two things. First, Mr. Sweeney, and I don't know if this applies to you, we did have one gentleman years ago, several years ago, who had a property that he wanted to use in sort of this fashion. And there is a use, I don't know if it's applicable on your property, a bed and breakfast. Fact is, he was renting it out, as I recall, through Airbnb to see if there was an interest, and he discovered there was, and then he went through the rezoning. And again, I don't know if that's applicable, but short-term rentals per se are not allowed. And you have to be within the scope of the acceptable uses. And my personal feeling is that consistency is important. That if I can't make, I don't know enough in each particular matter to start fine-tuning a fine to the level where we start taking into account things that I can either verify or, and so what I have tried to do is to have the inspector provide me with items for which there is no disagreement. This was the day it was observed, this was the day it was notified, this was the day it stopped. And when people do that, that I then assess a fine that is in line. There may be, and there have been, incredibly exceptional circumstances, but they're the truly exception, not the rule. And in this case, as much as I feel for you, I'm not going to consider this to fall within the scope of those that would warrant doing other than what has been asked for some years now. I mean, this, again, I've been hearing matters involving short-term rentals since, I think, 2020. This is now going on 4 years.
I think we did it before.
It may even, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was prior to COVID, so probably 19.
It was going on when I started, and I started in 19, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going back 5 years, and the word still seems to be either not getting out or people are just saying, well, I think I can get away with it. And so I'm going to assess the fine of $1,000 as other properties. Now, as Mr. Jackson can explain, that becomes a lien against the property, which the city could
After
obtain
90
through a
days.
foreclosure, but Mr. Jackson can probably best speak to that.
Maybe they can I'll deduct it from the purchase price or add it back in. Yeah.
And you're welcome to go do all of those things. I can't speak to them beyond that, but you're welcome to go talk to the department.
So where do I pay the fine?
Well, I have to assess it, actually, go through the reading the order, and then you're official.
Or you just waive it and be done with all that paperwork.
Well, it's not my paperwork. Okay, so therefore, in case number 7, RTL 07-2465, I find the respondent Casa del Sweeney LLC to have been in noncompliance of Article 4, Section 4.1.a, and Article 5, Section 5.2.a.2 of the Land Development Code, which prohibits short-term rentals in zoning districts not zoned for short-term rentals, and that such violations are irreparable and irreversible because the improper benefit obtained by the owner and the damage to the surrounding neighborhood occurs at the time the violation occurs and cannot be undone as provided for by Section 162.091D Florida statutes for the property at 20 Halifax Avenue to subsequently come into compliance on June 19, 2024, and hereby order the respondent shall pay a fine in the amount of $1,000 and not violate that section of the Land Development Code again, and that for any future repeat violation, the respondent may be placed on a subsequent agenda for hearing before the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $15,000 for each occurrence as per Chapter 162 Florida statutes.
Thank you.
Ms. Barnes.
Okay, and,
I'll send you a letter with a copy of the order,
okay,
an invoice.
okay.
You'll
And
be able
just,
to do that electronically if you.
and just my opinion for what it matters or doesn't matter, the city of Daytona Beach on beachside, change is needed. And I know there's this war against Airbnb, and it's led by the hotel lobby and someone in town that is against Airbnb. I get it. They got theirs, and this town has been about, I got theirs. I'm an investor. I may not be a big investor. I'm a small investor. But here I am. I'm an investor going, I've been an ambassador for 20 years to Daytona. I've been in the trenches, in between the bridges. This is the entertainment district. And I had requested, can we do it for the whole city block, a zoning change? No, it has to be each individual property. And we're going to decide one. I would say worldwide, open your arms to Airbnb. In the entertainment district, I love traveling with it. I love saving money, and I'm able to travel around the world and go to different places and stay in Airbnbs. It'll bring families, people, it'll bring investors in to redo beachside. Because the last 40, 50 years, our beachside, look at it. And I'm hoping that Brown and Brown and Beach Street continues on and we form a loop of beauty in Daytona Beach. So that's my 2 cents. But I hope you change your stance on this because I'm 500 feet from the Boot Hill Saloon. I deal with all the crap, all the vagrants, and you got me. I'm done. I'll take the money and put in a CD at 5% and make more money.
Mr. Sweeney, let me add my 2 cents. You seem to care. You need to talk with your legislators because as it currently stands, there is a statute that was passed back in 2011 that basically prevents, or at least that's been the opinions that have been rendered, the city from expanding its zoning with respect to short-term rentals. And until something happens in that regard, the argument has been made that if the city violates that statute, there is a provision in it that says that they then lose their ability to regulate short-term rentals. And that's a legislative fix. It has to come from Tallahassee.
Okay.
They came real close this year, but they should come closer not on the last day of the legislative session. It should reflect that there's some thought has gone into it and that the House and the Senate actually are on the same page. And I think in this instance, it wasn't really clear that they were. And so that's a legislative issue, and I would encourage you to speak with your legislators about it and see if something can be done.
All right. It's just frustrating that here I am, 20 years in, an investor, and the vagrants the other day get a court case to win. Not only that they can be more aggressive now in their panhandling in our town, and they can sleep in my backyard with no ramification, and they can even have damages assessed. They're going to figure out what the city of Daytona Beach has to pay them in damages now. This is insanity. And I know it's not just the city of Daytona Beach, it's other legislators. So I'll talk to my legislator as I give you guys your new home and sell out here. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Riggio, before we turn the page, can we revisit case 4?
Page 4.
Case 4.
Case 4.
That's RTL 02-24-27 at 811 Kingston.
Yes.
Mr. Sykes spoke to Inspector Reckenzone, And Inspector Reckenzone stated that he told me that the property was in compliance on July 10th. He might, 18th? July 18th, my bad. As I said, my hearing is not what it used to be, so that's entirely possible.
Okay.
So this case is in compliance on July the 18th.
Okay, so we're moving forward.
Yes.
All right. Case number 8, RTL 072466, Lorena Garcia, cited for failure to correct violations of Land Development Code, Article 4, Section 4.1.a, Article 5, Section 5.2.8.2, at 33 South Oleander Avenue.
Could you state your name, please?
Lorena Garcia.
And raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Yates?
The case before you is a zoning violation. This case was field generated. The property is zoned RDB6. Other accommodations known as short-term rentals are not permitted in this zoning district. The violation was first observed June 20th, 2024, and they were notified the same day. The property stopped actively advertising as of June 26, 2024, and the daily posted rate was $99. The advertisement displayed 118 reviews. The check-in check-out time were shown as 4 p.m. and 11 a.m. These actions are irreparable and irreversible in nature, and due to the actions of the property owner, the city is requesting a one-time fine of $1,000.
Okay. Mr. Yates, how many reviews were there?
118.
118, okay.
Ms. Garcia, I'm Anthony Jackson.
Hi.
I think you were in when I previously spoke to the position of the city as related to irreparable or irreversible. Is that something you need me to speak to again? Or
No.
is that something you waive hearing again, but you don't
Understood.
understand? You're welcome to speak to any of those issues. If you have any comments you want to
Sure. May I speak?
Let me just say, put in the record that Ms. Garcia has waived hearing Mr. Jackson's argument regarding irreparable and irreversible, and therefore his statements relating to irreparable and irreversible that were made previously in case RTL 072464, number 6, are hereby incorporated into this proceeding. Ms. Garcia, if you disagree with any of his statements, you can also state what you feel is.
No, I mean, just from my perspective, I had a lot of agreement with Mr. Sweeney. We had to make some tough decisions as well. We had some hurricane damage. We do have a long-term rental license, so we'll be looking at going back to that. I did not have a good experience with a long-term rental person, but that's why we had to make some tough decisions after the hurricane 2 years ago. Same thing here. I'm not going to ask you to waive the fine. I just hope that it's not more than $1,000 at this point. Yeah.
No, I've tried to.
Understand. We acted as soon as we received as soon as I got the notice, I took everything off. And what's crazy is the listing was live, but all of the dates were blocked for the whole year. So I didn't realize that it was a live listing. So as soon as I got that notice, I unlisted it.
Okay. All right. Well, then let me read my order. In case number 9, RTL 0724. By the way, do you have anything further to add?
Case number 8, Mr. Magistrate.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have anything further you want to add?
I mean, I do, but not today. Okay. So I think Mr. Sweeney covered some of the things that people are feeling in Daytona, and I think that some things do need to change, especially with homeowners like myself and my husband, who keep our home very pristine and put a lot of money into, paying our taxes and making sure that our home is pristine. So I feel like it's not here. That's not a discussion for here, but we definitely need to get involved in making sure that our voices are heard.
Ms. Garcia, let me say that from the cases that I've heard, they run the spectrum. You are on the end where it sounds to me, you are trying to run things in what you consider to be an appropriate manner. I have heard horror stories from other properties where all kinds of goings on night and day,
Agree, yeah.
and the neighborhoods are treated like trash. And obviously, this is an area where if it is to be allowed, it's like I said to the previous gentleman, it's going to require a legislative fix.
Sure.
And it's also going to require some kind of accountability, because even hotels and motels don't allow the guests to run rampant. There are checks and balances on the people who are in, and that's one of the problems. Unfortunately, you fall within the scope of people who probably live here. I've seen a lot of people who've been lured by realtors who say, buy a house in Daytona and you can pay the mortgage, even though with the rentals you gain, while you live up in Boise, Idaho, and you have no idea what's going on at your home, and there could be all but riots going on, and these people are just unaccountable.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah. And then just, for us, we're all about, we think we're the prettiest house on the block. And we're, very proud of that, and definitely would not want anyone staying in our home that was going to, mess with the house or the neighborhood. So that's something that we take very seriously.
Okay.
But again, the listing is gone, so we're good.
Therefore, case number 8, RTL 072466, I find the respondent Lorena Garcia to be in non-compliance, nor do the respondent come into compliance. Oh, I'm sorry. The wrong one.
No, that was the right one.
I find it to have been non-compliance
sorry.
of Article 4.
Here we go.
Let me start over again, just
Yes,
so we
I'm sorry.
clear for the
Start over.
clerk. Case number 8, RTL 072466. I find the respondent, Lorena Garcia, to have been in noncompliance of Article 4, Section 4.1.a, and Article 5, Section 5.2.8.2 of the Land Development Code, which prohibit short-term rentals in zoning districts not zoned for short-term rentals, and such violations are irreparable and irreversible because the improper benefit obtained by the owner and the damage to the surrounding neighborhood occurs time the violation occurs and cannot be undone as provided for by Section 162.091D Florida statutes for the property at 33 South Oleander Avenue, and who will subsequently come into compliance on June 26, 2024, and hereby order the respondent shall pay a fine in the amount of $1,000 and not violate that section of the Land Development Code again, and if for any future repeat violation, the respondent may be placed on subsequent agenda for a hearing before the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $15,000 for each occurrence as per Chapter 162 Florida statutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Case number 9, RTL 072468, Daniel and Brooke Franco, cited for failure to correct violations of Land Development Code Article 4, Section 4.1.a, Article 5, Section 5.2.8.2 at 358 Gulf Boulevard.
Could you state your name, please?
Brooke Franco.
And raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ms. Franco, you could pull that mic down.
A little tall.
Mr. Yates.
The case before you is a zoning violation. This case was field generated. The property is zoned SFR 5. Other accommodations known as short-term rentals are not permitted in the zoning district. The violation was first observed June 14, 2024, and they were notified the same day. The property is still actively advertising as of today. The daily posted rate is $116, and it displayed 3 reviews. The check-in, check-out time were shown as 3 p.m. and 11 a.m. These actions are irreparable and irreversible in nature, and due to the actions of the property owner, city is requesting a one-time fine of $15,000.
Can I?
Okay. Mr.
You heard Ms. Franco. I'm Anthony Jackson. I don't know if you were in when I gave the city's position. And again, it's the same question. Is it something you need to hear again, or you want to waive it? Waive me speaking to that. Of course, you can speak to any of those issues if you'd like to, and express whatever you have to say concerning that.
Okay. Yeah, I heard what you said. I understand everything that you were saying about irreversible damages and everything.
And so you waive me doing that again?
Yeah, I waive that, yeah.
Okay.
All right. It's my turn for a second to incorporate that into the record, then you'll be given an opportunity to speak.
Okay.
Okay. Therefore, Ms. Franco has waived Mr. Jackson's presentation relative to the issues of irreparable and irreversible as presented in case number, which case was that? 6, which was RTL 072464. And those comments are hereby incorporated into the record of this proceeding. And Ms. Franco.
Before Ms. Franco speaks, I do want to just speak to one thing that would be different than the prior, and that was my expression as related to the penalty. And I did express that it's statutorily we're looking at the gravity of the violation, the nature of the efforts of the violator to come into compliance, and history as well. In this situation, there's not a history situation, but the fact that this is non-compliance even as we come here today. And of course, Ms. Franco will have an opportunity to explain her position or circumstance, but as we come here today, because it is a non-compliance, we would be asking for the maximum fine, which is the $15,000 fine. So that's our position as of this moment.
Okay.
Can I speak now?
Yes, please.
Okay, I just want to start off that the listing was immediately taken off, that we spoke to Yates. One of the first 2 people that were in here, when they said they took it off and then they realized it was still on, that just happened to me, and I can show you proof because I wanted to show you proof of how much money we've even made. We haven't even made $1,000. We had it booked by less than 7 nights total. I have that right here. That's not including with the cleaning fees taken off taxes. And then I can also show, because I had to sign into it, to get that proof, I had to get an Airbnb verification code. And apparently, if you Google it, when you delete the listing, it does not delete it. You have to unlist it. And I did not know that. And it shows my last, I haven't boarded. I wouldn't be that stupid to pay $15,000. I haven't even made $1,000 off the property. I'm 20 years old. We bought the property. We've had it for a year. It was an investment loan, and just like you said, the realtors screw you up. Sorry. But we have short-term rental insurance on it because it was a requirement to own the property, and every house besides 3 houses on our property are rented. 2 houses down was a freaking not a foreclosure. They got kicked out. All of this stuff was in the yard for a month. If anything, 358 was a piece of crap home, almost condemned, and we bought the house and fixed it up. And now we have to also drop because the city can't connect us to city water because the school behind us took all the city hookups. We have to pay $15,000 on top of the $5,000 to pay you guys to hook up. So we're just trying to do the best we can, but $15,000, I can't pay it. Like,
Miss
we were in
Franco,
compliance.
what I'd like to do on this,
And we didn't even get a warning.
I've seen these before where people have run into issues with respect to taking down these things. What I would like to do is to continue this matter and allow you an opportunity to get with Mr. Yates and discuss the efforts that you took. And
You can even look up the address right now. Nothing pops up.
this is really not the place to be doing that kind of thing. And then he can look at what you've done, and then he can come back and say that, perhaps a lesser fine is warranted. I'm not here to try to assess a fine if it's not warranted. I understand your statement.
But not.
I looked it up right here, and as far as irreversible damages, when you look up my address, you can go on Google or any site. Nothing pops up except when the house
We'll go
is
with your
for sale.
recommendation, Mr. Riggio, in terms of continuing it and having an opportunity for her to clarify what her status is. Is that?
Yeah, I don't want to levy a big weight on you if, in fact, you've been. God knows I have problems working with computers sometimes.
I have
so,
the proof right here. Just print it out.
How
Can
you
show documentation?
Well, that's really between if you can get with Mr.
Yeah,
Yates
that's where you win.
and explain to
go on
him
up there.
what it is that you were doing, and
We spoke to him immediately when he called. He didn't even knock on our door. I would think in a case like this,
I
he would
hear
get
you.
a notice and then, hey,
I'm
take it
trying to
down.
give you an opportunity to make your case, which really requires a lot more detail and discussion than I really think is appropriate at a hearing like this. And then you can discuss that with him, and he can tell you, and he can understand what it is you tried to do. It sounds like you were unsuccessful, and most of us who, everybody works with computers, and every now and then you hit a brick wall. There are things you can't do. You don't understand it. If it seems reasonable to him what you have to say, then he can come back and say,
The listing shows that I have 3 reviews.
Mr. Riggio, Mr. Franco would also like to speak. I need to
has Mr.
swear
Franco
him.
been sworn?
No, I need to swear him in.
Mr. Franco?
State your name.
Dan Franco.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I just wanted to say I did contact Mr. Yates a couple of days later. He did say he was going to suggest or recommend the court for no more than $1,000 fine, which I'm fine paying that. But like I said, it was a mistake because we immediately deleted it. I don't know what happened with the site, but we didn't keep it on purpose.
We didn't have any.
We don't have anything on it. We did delete it, and that's the honest truth. If we can come to an agreement today for the $1,000, we're willing to pay for that because we know we were at the wrong. We didn't do our duty work, but.
The problem here is that, if I understand, Mr. Yates, it's still on.
Yeah, so when I checked the site, not saying it's bookable, okay, saying that it still existed in Airbnb. Now, what he's saying is as long as you guys show me the paperwork, you guys are doing your due diligence, we're going to come back next month, and I'll still give the recommendation based off the date that you guys started this. But if we proceed now, we're going to go for the $15,000. So we would prefer to have you come back.
Live here full time, so.
You can come via Zoom.
School.
You can do it via Zoom, but if we go now, we're going to go for the 15.
I take it that it's still up there.
When I checked this
And so
morning,
it has
it's still
to be
loaded.
taken down before I can start taking. I
It's
understand.
right
I understand.
here. That's why I'm saying it's not on there. I don't know what work he does. I swear to God on everything. You can look it up right now. There's nothing on here. I wouldn't come up here and lie. I thought this was like court where I can.
Ma'am,
sue
I'm trying to make an accommodation, but I have to be testimony from the inspector that says
not even
that
doing
it
his
is
work right.
down and that he feels that you have taken all of the efforts that were appropriate and that the fine that he had initially asked for has been reduced. And I have no problem under what he had mentioned about doing that you taking the date of when you tried to. But if you get caught up in that, you still have to, in order to get the benefit of the reduced fine, you have to be taken off of that website. And if there may be a few steps you need to do or whatever, and he hopefully can guide you through that
It's
and
not
get
on
this
there.
thing resolved.
It is literally not on there.
Okay, so
So we have
what-
to come back
Do I
and pay
need
the
to like? I
$15,000.
know, but do I need to like contact Airbnb to like show proof like when we took it off?
You
or-
don't need to.
You
can
need
look it
to
up right
get
now. It
with
is not on
Mr.
there.
Yates, who has gone through this many times,
I can show him right now.
to make sure that you satisfied him that you are gone from that website.
Correct.
And he's still, the testimony I have is that you're still there, but I'm willing to work with you on that because you appear to be, trying to get there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue this.
Right there. That is the actual website, right there, Golf Boulevard.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to, Mr. Magistrate, if I may, and I know you spoke to it. I'm sorry.
We're going to continue this. I understand this is not the proper place for all of the exchanging of information, et cetera. This is where testimony is provided. And hopefully, you'll be able to satisfy him.
Okay.
And you get the resolution that you had said before that you seemed acceptable to.
Okay.
And just to be clear, it appears y'all are from Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no intent to have you come back. We have Zoom, and just your full communication with the inspector will probably help resolve that. So it's resolvable, and it'll be a fresh recommendation based upon whatever he's able to resolve through you guys.
So just call me later, and I'll tell you exactly what I'm looking for, and then we can put it together and get it done, okay?
And then I do have a question. Are long-term rentals allowed? Since our
Long-term
neighborhood is
rentals
one?
are allowed with licenses, and
We'll
you
work
can
with
speak
you.
with Mr.
Yeah, call
Yates
me, I'll
about
give you
that
full
as well.
details on the cost and what's involved.
I'll give you a call.
Perfect.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, in case number 9, RTL 072468, Respondents being Daniel and Brooke Franco, property being at 358 Gulf Boulevard. I hereby continue this case to August 27, 2024, and hopefully it's resolved before then.
What date was that?
August 27th.
All right, thank you.
You'll be getting a notice regarding that. It
Okay.
will be mailed to you as well.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, case number 10, RTL 072469. Sunflower Investors, Inc. is cited for failure to correct violations of Land Development Code, Article 4, Section 4.1.a, Article 5, Section 5.2.8.2 at 241 DeSoto Street.
Could you state your name, please?
Ruth Diaz.
Ruth Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
And are you guys also going to testify?
Yeah, we're all a corporation.
Okay, and so your name, sir?
Gustavo Rodriguez.
Slowly.
Gustavo Rodriguez.
And sir?
Rafael Hernandez.
And raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Oh, I'm sorry, and y'all are all Sunflower
Sunflower
Investors, Inc., and what are your roles, just so I know when
I
you
am
say.
the president and they're both the vice president.
Okay, so y'all are the body. Okay, very good.
The case before you is a zoning violation. This case was field generated. The property is zoned RDM6. Other accommodations known as short-term rentals are not permitted in the zoning district. The violation was first observed June 14, 2024, and they were notified the same day. The property stopped actively advertising as of June 18, 2024. The daily posted rate was $238, and the advertisement displayed 13 reviews. The check-in, check-out time were shown as 3:30 and 10:30. These actions are irreparable and irreversible in nature, and due to the actions of the property owner, the city is requesting a one-time fine of $1,000.
Okay. Mr. Jackson?
Hello, Anthony Jackson, attorney for the city. I previously presented to the magistrate the city's position as relates to the finding or request of a finding that these violations are irreparable or irreversible in nature. If y'all heard that, I'm asking whether you've heard it, and if you have, you can waive me presenting that again. Otherwise, I'll present it for you to hear again if you so desire. It's up to
We're
you.
fine.
So, is it something you want to hear again, or is it something you waive me presenting once again to the magistrate?
No, you don't have to present again. We understand it. And we just wanted to say that the house is listed.
Well, let him hear that
Oh,
part,
okay.
that you waive it, and then he'll hear everything else you have to say.
You want to waive it? That he doesn't have to present again.
No, you don't have to.
Okay.
If there's anything you disagree with, you certainly can state your disagreement with whatever he says. It's just, I'm incorporating his statements into the record, so he doesn't have to repeat them. Okay. So therefore, in case number 10, RTL 072469, the respondents in that matter have waived Mr. Jackson's, have waived the incorporation or an objection to the incorporation of the statements which Mr. Jackson rendered relative to irreparable and irreversible, and that was, he previously made those in case number 6, RTL 072464, and therefore his statements regarding irreparable and irreversible are incorporated into this matter. And again, if you disagree with anything he said or have comments regarding anything he said, you're free to make them. I'm just incorporating what he said.
Yeah, I understand the law is the misunderstanding is short rental or rental when the property was purchased. And the house is listed as being sold immediately. So, I mean, we totally understand.
Okay.
Nothing further?
So our request is for the $1,000 fine.
Do you have anything further to add? The city is requesting a fine of $1,000 because of you acted quickly
I mean, I already heard that there's no way you're gonna waive it or anything because it's already part of the violation, so, I mean, I wish it wasn't, but I understand. I just have one question. It might not be related, but how is the zoning with drugs in the area?
Oh, I don't work that type of thing. I just do property, so I don't know, unfortunately.
Okay. That's all. That's all I wanted.
I didn't hear the question.
No, because across the street, they sell pot and they sell drugs. So I don't know.
You're asking how the drug dealing is in the
Because he's
neighborhood.
the inspector. That's all I'm asking.
Oh, it's reportable.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a criminal violation, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
not a
that's-
civil violation.
Yeah, it's a little above
code
me.
Violation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll be with the police department.
Yeah. Anything further?
Thank you.
Therefore, in case number 10, RTL 072469, I find the respondent Sunflower Investors, Inc. to have been in non-compliance with Article 4, Section 4.1.a, and Article 5, Section 5.2.a.2 of the Land Development Code, which prohibits short-term rentals in zoning districts not zoned for short-term rentals, and that such violations are irreparable and irreversible because the improper benefit obtained by the owner and the damage to the surrounding neighborhood occurs time the violation occurs and cannot be undone as provided for by Section 162.091D Florida statutes for the property at 241 DeSoto Street, and to have subsequently come into compliance on June 18, 2024, and hereby order that respondent shall pay a fine in the amount of $1,000 and not violate that section of the Land Development Code again, and that for any future repeat violation, the respondent may be placed on a subsequent agenda for a hearing before the special magistrate for consideration of fine of up to $15,000 for each occurrence as per Chapter 162 Florida statutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Case number 11, RTL 072470, Opulent Home Health Care LLC, cited for failure to correct violations of Land Development Code, Article 4, Section 4.1.a, Article 5, Section 5.2.a.2 at 1249 Suwannee Road. Is there anyone here on behalf of Opulent Home Health Care LLC? Are they on Zoom? Have they?
No, I have no other Zoom participants.
Okay. Then the respondent is not present. Mr. Yates?
The case before you is a zoning violation. This case was field generated. The property is zoned SFR 5. Other accommodations and short-term rentals are not permitted in this zoning district. The violation was first observed June 26, 2024. They were notified the same day. The property is still actively advertising as of today. The daily posted rate was $192 on Airbnb and $155 on VRBO. The advertisement displayed 10 reviews on Airbnb and 3 reviews on VRBO. The check-in, check-out time were shown as 4 p.m. and 11 a.m. This is the third violation by this owner at this address. The first being RTL 032432 on March 26, 2024. The second, RTL 062460 on June 25th, 2024, and this being the third. These actions are irreparable and irreversible in nature, and the city is requesting a one-time fine of $15,000.
Madam Clerk, has the respondent been notified of today's hearing?
Yes, by posting.
Okay.
Their mail for all 3 cases has been unclaimed, and the property's been posted.
Okay, and that is the address that is on file with the County Property Appraiser's Office?
Well, let's see. Yes, sir, it is. 7810 Wakely Plaza, Unit 120, Omaha, Nebraska, 68114. Same address.
Okay.
And I will state, I've just checked with the inspector in the past. I don't know if it's related to this violation, but he has had communication with property managers for this property in the past. So they're well aware.
If you don't mind, let Mr. Yates come forward, and
Absolutely.
since he's sworn,
We've spoken to the property management before, who has attempted to get long-term licenses, but for things that wouldn't be allowed, such as more short-term renting of like 3 months and less. We have had communication, but no progress.
What's the most recent communication?
The most recent communication would have been when they turned in the rental application, which was about, I believe, a month ago.
Yeah, around that. And they actually applied for an ADU, but you have to live on the property to be an ADU, so that was denied. And then they came back and asked for a BT for a home-based business, but you have to reside on the property for a home-based business. So that was not allowed either.
Okay. Mr. Jackson?
Mr. Magistrate, I will present in this case the city's position as related to irreparable, irreversible in nature. As provided in Chapter 16209, subsection 1D of Florida statute, the city, again, takes the position that these are beneficial gains to a property owner that's advertising conduct that's prohibited by the city code, and it affects rental property or the holding out of rental property as vacation rentals, and that cannot be reversed or repaired. Property is advertised worldwide, marketing a destination that draws people from all over the world for principal special events such as the Daytona 500 races, Bike Week, Biketoberfest, and throughout the spring and summer to the world's most famous beach. The properties may also be marketed as a draw to nearby destinations such as Disney World and Space Coast. And again, once the properties are advertised, can't unadvertise them. You can't push it back into the tube. Once it's out, it's out. It can be copied, printed, saved, forwarded, retweeted, posted on other sites, held for future communication. So the only way we can enforce is to insist that any advertisement that's posted be removed. The information has a long-term range of effect in luring patrons under contract to participate in unlawful stays in our city. The patrons risk poor health, poor safety and welfare due to unregulated or self-regulated vacation accommodations that the patrons enter into at their own risk. Single day of advertising can potentially book a property for a whole year. These promised stays are potentially to the detriment of the patron, but it's definitely to the detriment of licensed hotels, motels, and the lawful vacation rentals that have gone through proper zoning regulation, proper inspections, proper licensing, proper insurance, and proper taxation that's required by law. The transit nature of the rentals limit the means of the enforcement, typically to the inspector having to identify it through its advertisements. By the time the code enforcement arrives to properties, the transient patrons typically are gone from the property, or they claim misleading relationships that are often contradicted by the advertised visitor comments. The monetary effect of these unlawful rentals is tax avoidance, inadequate insurance coverage, and unfair business competition against lawful accommodations businesses and lawful vacation rentals. The community effect is that transient business use within unauthorized residential neighborhoods affect density, parking, noise, and safety. They affect the peaceful enjoyment expected in residential neighborhoods and diverge from traditional and reliable residential norms. There's a demand, and there has been a demand from the business community to our commission, which has led to a request for a strong deterrent to those that are raking in profits, avoiding local taxes, avoiding zoning regulations, zoning requirements, and regulatory controls. We have seen rentals going for amounts as much as several $1,000s a week and realize substantial fines is the only deterrent tool available. By the time we arrive and say stop, the beneficial gains are already realized. State law adopted by the city defines vacation rentals to include advertising for transient guests. Therefore, the city requests a finding that these violations are irreparable or irreversible in nature. And in this circumstance, the city further requests, as it relates to the fine itself, that we look at the requirements on the Chapter 162 as well as the city code, the city's land development code, as it relates to how how the fines are measured. We ask you to look to the gravity of the violation. This is the third violation. The effort of this respondent to come into compliance. If any effort has been made, it's been reactivated, and any time it possibly has stopped. No true effort has been made to comply with this statute, and the history is that they've done it before and before. And so if we could ask for more, we'd ask for more. But we ask for $15,000, the maximum fine under this code, and have the potential to go out each day and cite them again every time it appears, and we'll be back here. That's all I have.
Anything further? Nothing? Mr. Yates, anything further?
No, sir.
Okay, therefore, in case number RPL 07-2470, I find the respondent, Opulent Home Healthcare LLC, to have been in non-compliance of Article 4, Section 4.1A, and Article 5, Section 5.2.8.2 of the Land Development Code, which prohibit short-term rentals in zoning districts not zoned for short-term rentals. Such violations are irreparable and irreversible because the improper benefit obtained by the owner and the damage to the surrounding neighborhood occurs at the time the violation occurs and cannot be undone as provided for by Section 162.091D, Florida statutes, for the property at 1249 Swanee Road. And it is still in non-compliance, and hereby order that respondent shall pay a fine in the amount of $15,000 and not violate that section of the Land Development Code again. And if for any future repeat violation, the respondent may be placed on a subsequent agenda for a hearing before the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $15,000 for each occurrence as per Chapter 162 Florida statutes. Okay. Case number 12, RTL 07-2471, Kenneth Metzler Jr., cited for failure to correct violations of Land Development Code Article 4, Section 4.1.a, Article 5, Section 5.2.a2 at 213 Jessamine Boulevard. Is Mr. Metzler present?
No, sir.
All right. Has Mr. Metzler been notified of this hearing?
Yes, sir. Kevin posted the property, actually, another inspector posted the property on July the 10th, 2024, posted it at City Hall and mailed out a copy. The address on the Volusia property appraiser and our notice is the address of the property, 213 Jessamine Boulevard.
Okay.
And that other inspector filed an affidavit?
He did,
and
which was notarized.
And it's made a part of the record to file?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Yates?
The case before you is a zoning violation. This case was field generated. The property is zoned SFR 5. Other accommodations known as short-term rentals are not permitted in the zoning district. The violation was first observed June 26, 2024, and they were notified the same day. The property is still actively advertising as of today. The daily posted rate was $265, and the advertisement displayed 22 reviews. The check-in, check-out time were shown as 3 p.m. and 11 a.m. This is the third violation by this owner at this address, the first being RTL 02-2424 on February 26, 2024. The second being RTL 05-2450 on May 30th, 2024. And this being the third. These actions are irreparable and irreversible in nature, and the city is requesting a one-time fine of $15,000.
Okay. Mr. Yates, SFR 5 is what, is that a single family?
Residential, yep, 5.
Okay. And this property is surrounded by other single family residential homes?
Yes, homes and then an elementary school 3 houses down.
Okay, but immediately around it, there are just homes. Okay.
And have you had any contact with anyone?
A property manager on site twice.
And the last time?
The last time was in May, and he said that they would be looking into resolving it, and I really tried to impress upon him the gravity of it, and he said he'd take my notice.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Mr. Magistrate, Anthony Jackson, attorney for the city, and again, I feel a necessity to express the city's position regarding that these violations are irreparable and irreversible in nature as provided in Chapter 16209, subsection 1D of the Florida statutes. Our position is based upon the beneficial gain to the property owner who is advertising conduct that is prohibited by our city code and it affects renting property or holding out property as vacation rentals, which cannot be reversed or repaired. Property is advertised worldwide, marketing a destination that draws people from all over the world for principal special events such as this Daytona 500 races, Bike Week, Biketoberfest, and throughout the spring break and summer months, throughout spring and summer months for the world's most famous beach. The properties may also be marketed as a draw to nearby destinations such as Disney World and Space Coast. And once they're advertised, it can't be unadvertised, can't push it back into the tube. Once it's out there, it can be copied, reprinted, retweeted, posted on other sites. And it limits the city to the only solution to the advertisement is to require that all postings be removed. The information has long-range effects in luring patrons under contract to participate in unlawful stays in our city. The patrons risk poor health, poor safety, and welfare due to unregulated or self-regulated vacation accommodations that patrons enter into at their own risk. A single day of advertising can potentially book the property for a whole year. These promised stays are potentially to the detriment of the patron and definitely to the detriment of licensed hotels, motels, and lawful vacation rentals that have gone through proper zoning regulation, proper inspections, proper licensing, proper insurance, and proper taxation that's required by law. The transit nature of the rentals limit the means of the enforcement typically to identifying advertisements. By the time code enforcement arrives to properties, the transient patrons typically are gone from the property or they claim some misleading relationship that are often contradicted by the advertised guest comments. The monetary effect of these unlawful rentals is tax avoidance, inadequate insurance coverage, unfair business competition against lawful accommodations, businesses, and lawful vacation rentals. The community effect is that transient business use within unauthorized residential neighborhoods affect density, parking, noise, and safety. They affect the peaceful enjoyment expected in residential neighborhoods, and they diverge from the traditional and reliable residential norms. There's a demand, and there has been a demand for the business community, from the business community to our city commission, which has led to a request for a strong deterrent to those that are raking in profits, avoiding local taxes, avoiding zoning requirements and regulatory controls. We have all seen rentals going for amounts as much as several $1,000s a week and realize substantial fines is the only deterrent tool available. By the time we arrive and say stop, the beneficial gains are already realized. So, state law adopted by the city defines vacation rentals to include advertising for transient guests. Therefore, the city requests a finding that these violations are irreparable or irreversible in nature. And the city further speaks to the nature of our request as it relates to the fine or the amount of the fine. The amount of the fine is considered based upon a criteria that's in Florida Statute Chapter 162 as well as in the city's Land Development Code. And there's three things that we look at. One is the gravity of the violation, the efforts of the respondent to come into compliance, and the history of this respondent. In this case, this respondent has had this is the third violation by this respondent. It's still in non-compliance as of today. And so there's been no real effort. And the gravity is that all that's been stated about the effects of the short-term rental on our community. And so with all that said, we believe $15,000 fine is warranted, and we recognize the statutory authority to come back each day with a new, and count it as a new violation, and very possibly we'd be back with a new violation if this continues as it shows today. And that's all I have, Mr. Magistrate.
Okay. All right. And having heard your statement and the facts as presented by Mr. Yates in case number 12, RTL 07-2471, I find the respondent, Kenneth Metzler Jr., to have been noncompliant with Article 4, Section 4.1.a and Article 5, Section 5.2.a.2 of the Land Development Code, which prohibits short-term rentals in zoning districts not zoned for short-term rentals. And such violations are irreparable and irreversible because the improper benefit obtained by the owner and the damage to surrounding neighborhood occurs at the time the violation occurs and cannot be undone as provided for by Section 162.091D Florida statutes for the property at 213 Jessamine Boulevard and to still be in noncompliance, and hereby order that respondent shall pay a fine in the amount of $15,000 and not violate that section of the Land Development Code again, and that for any future repeat violation, the respondent may be placed on a subsequent agenda for a hearing before the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $15,000 for each occurrence as per Chapter 162 Florida statutes. Case number 13, RTL 07-2472. Liliana Valdez and Luis Moises Gomez is cited for failure to correct violation of the Land Development Code, Article 4, Section 4.1.a, Article 5, Section 5.2.a.2 at 346 Pelican Avenue.
Could you state your name, please?
Liliana Valdez.
And are you going to testify as well?
Yeah, I'm her daughter.
You get closer to the mic, but yeah, you can.
You're her attorney?
No, I'm her daughter.
Her daughter.
So I'm actually going to be
See, my
speaking on
hearing's
behalf of
terrible.
her because she doesn't speak English. She understands, but it's very hard for her to speak it.
Okay.
So I'm going to be speaking on behalf of her.
And your name is?
Narcisse Rivera.
Narcy?
Narcisse, Narcis, Rivera.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Yates.
The case before you is a zoning violation. This case was field generated. The property is zoned SFR 5. Other accommodations known as short-term rentals are not permitted in the zoning district. The violation was first observed June 27, 2024, and they were notified the same day. The property stopped actively advertising as of July 3, 2024. The daily posted rate was $304. The advertisement displayed 13 reviews. Check-in time was shown as 3 p.m. These actions are irreparable and irreversible in nature, and due to the actions of the property owner, the city is requesting a one-time fine of $1,000.
Mr. Jackson, do you have anything to add?
Yes, Mr. Magistrate. And I'll speak to Ms. Rivera on behalf of Ms. Valdez, since you're speaking on her behalf.
Yes.
I don't know if you mentioned that Ms. Valdez understands English as
She
well.
understands everything you're
So
saying.
I've presented a city's position now 3 times.
Mhm.
Is that something you feel the need for me to present again, or is that something that she would want to waive or be willing to waive me presenting that again?
Yeah, we waive that from you
Okay.
presenting that
And
again.
of course, you can speak to those on her behalf, any of the things that I said there, if there's anything that you want to speak to on those issues.
Yes. Que lo que él dijo antes, ¿se acuerda que él habló un montón de cosas? Todo eso no tiene que repetirlo otra vez. Yes.
All right, we'll let the record reflect that the respondents have waived Mr. Jackson's presentation regarding irreparable and irreversible, and have agreed that his presentation will be back in case number 6, RTL 07-2464, as it
Mommy,
relates
please.
to irreparable and irreversible be incorporated into this proceeding, and that they do have the right to say anything that they disagree with, or that's just the city's position that's being incorporated into the record.
Yes, we understand.
Okay? It's your turn if you have anything to say.
Yes. I just wanted to say that on behalf of my mother, she owned this property for a little bit over 2.5 years. She invested a lot, and I think you guys can see from all the permits that we've come here to request from the city. We were unaware that we could. We weren't able to rent it for a short period. We thought it was okay to do it. So we just basically want to just let you know that it was not on purpose, that it wasn't done on purpose, and that it was actually my mom wanted to do the property rental because she wanted help with all the expenses she did with the renovations of the house. And that's why we did it. We're basically, I know 1,000 is the least that you guys can do, but if you can consider maybe a little bit less for us.
I would certainly like to, but as you've heard before, I have tried to, this has been reduced from initially 15,000, and we've reduced it, and at some point, since people are in fact renting out these properties and realizing income, and that they shouldn't be realizing, that I felt that 1,000 is appropriate under the circumstances.
Yeah, we didn't have it for too long too. It was 4 months, I think, maybe a little bit more than 4 months. We didn't make a lot of money out of it. We maybe had 4 rentals, if that, I think. I'm not sure exactly the amount, but it wasn't, we didn't make a lot of money out of it. So.
I understand that, but I have tried to stay away from the actual transaction, since many of them don't get recorded. All that Mr. Yates typically has access to are reviews, and in some of them, people may have actually been told not to leave reviews. And so it's very difficult to try to be fair across the board, and that's why I've tried to stick with just one figure. And whether it's a close approximation, that's the best we can do, or I feel like I can do.
Okay. ¿Tiene algo más que decir?
No, ¿cómo le cobran eso a uno? Y ahora mismo.
No, está bien, ellos se lo van a mandar. She's asking when do we have to pay. I said she's going to send her a letter, and then we... Yeah, I already heard everything, so I'm good with that.
Right.
Okay.
And I would add, too, that as I understand it, the city of Daytona regulates all types of rentals. And it's one of these things where, it's nice to say that I didn't know, but actually in the city, because there's so much involved with rentals, a lot of it for the protection of the people who are renting, so that they don't end up in either a dangerous situation or substandard situation or what have you. And this is sort of a cottage industry that's existing outside the scope of all of those reviews and inspections.
And we only rent the one room. It's not the complete house.
Well, I understand, but even one room, I mean, if it's lacking the appropriate safety measures, and that's not something that's really something I feel is appropriate to get into on this. It's just, it shouldn't occur.
Okay.
So in case number 13, RTL 07-2472, I find the respondent Liliana Valdez and Luis Moises Gomez to have been in compliance with Article 4, Section 4.1.a, and Article 5, Section 5.2.a.2 of the Land Development Code, which prohibits short-term rentals in zoning districts not zoned for short-term rentals, and that such violations are irreparable and irreversible because the improper benefit obtained by the owner in a damaged surrounding neighborhood occurs at the time the violation occurs and cannot be undone as provided for by Section 162.091D Florida statutes for the property at 346 Pelican Avenue, and to have subsequently come into compliance on July 3, 2024, and hereby order respondent shall pay a fine in the amount of $1,000 and not violate that section of the Land Development Code again, and that for any future repeat violation, the respondent may be placed on a subsequent agenda for a hearing before the special magistrate for consideration of a fine of up to $15,000 for each occurrence as per Chapter 162 Florida statutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Question for you. How many days does she have until she could pay it after we receive the letter?
30 days.
30 days? Okay.
If you need some additional time, you can give me a call and we can discuss it with code management.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do we have any miscellaneous business?
No, sir.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.
Therefore, it being 11:03.
I could.
Oh,
I could. I mean, I was asked to, am I going to introduce our other attorney? And yeah, I can do that.
please do.
David Dixon, he's one of the newest attorney in our office.
Okay.
He's coming in as our police legal advisor.
Okay.
Chances are he'll be doing this as well. We'll see how it all goes, but that's how it looks. But he's looking at and observing, and he's well experienced in a lot of areas and for a lot of years. So we have a lot of expectation and a lot of confidence that he'll do great for the city.
Okay. Mr. Dixon, look forward to seeing you here.
Good morning. Good morning, Your Honor. I'm a pleasure to observe.
Okay. Well, I expect you will be in the trenches very soon, so.
We'll throw him somewhere.
Yes. All right.
All right.
It being 11:04, I hereby call the July 23, 2024 Special Magistrate proceeding to be adjourned.